How's it going, everyone? Yes, Days of Play is, of course, coming to an end. Today and tomorrow, I believe, are the last full days. I believe it's ending, like, June 9th at, like, 2:59 or something like that. Some weird time. If you want to buy anything, make sure you pick your stuff up pretty soon. And I want to do one last video looking at games that are a little bit more expensive, north of $20 and everything like that. Let's just get right into it, because there's quite a lot of stuff to go over. And let's start things off with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, 43% off for $39.89. Now, this is the cheapest Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart has been. Of course, this came out just about a year ago. I think we're coming up on a year to the day. Might even be the 1 year anniversary, actually. No, June 11th is the 1 year anniversary since the release of the game. Nonetheless, it's a game that I very much enjoyed. It was one of my favorite games of 2021. However, if you are going to be signing up for PlayStation Plus Premium, it's not going to be available right away in that library. However, it will be added at some point. This is the kind of game that Sony's going to keep in their back pocket for a little bit to get people to either sign up for the first time or keep their subscription rolling. So that is something to consider if you are planning on signing up for the service. The game itself, I think, is fantastic. Really like the inclusion of Rivet. Thought she added a nice layer to the game. Kit was a nice character as well, and overall, it's a charming game. Is it super lengthy? No, you can complete it rather quickly. You can get the Platinum Trophy within probably, 12 to 15 hours, but it's still a pretty solid game overall, and visually, of course, this is one of the best looking PlayStation 5 games. Really, if you have a PS5 and you want to see what the visual capabilities are, I'm not saying Rift Apart's going to be the best looking game ever, but it's a pretty darn good looking one, and for south of $40, I would say it's a pretty decent price. It's just a game that has been holding up in value, but again, at some point it will be added to Plus Premium, just not right away. Alright, next up we have Persona 5 Royal. It is 60% off for $24. The Ultimate Edition is also on sale. It's 65% off for $35 if you would rather pick that up. P5 Royal is generally considered by many to be one of, if not to many people, it is the best JRPG of all time. I wouldn't go that far, however, it is a masterclass in terms of design, gameplay, storytelling, character development. It is strong in a lot of areas, and of course, Royal is the version that you want to pick up. It just adds a significant amount of content, and yeah, you could make the argument, hey, should it have just been a downloadable expansion or whatnot? Yeah, whatever, but $24 for Royal, given the content that you're getting, it's an absolute bargain. Even if you have played the base Persona 5 game, there's reason to go back and obviously play Royal. You guys know how it works with like P3 FES, P4 Golden. Royal is an extension of Persona 5, but it adds a significant amount of content, so would highly recommend it. Great soundtrack as well. I think that's one thing everybody can unanimously agree on, that Persona has just a banger track record as far as its soundtrack, and it holds true in Persona 5 Royal as well. 24 bucks again, you're getting a lot of hours out of your dollar here as well. The polar opposite of what I said about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, that could be held true for Persona 5 Royal. Alright, next up, Mafia Trilogy, 50% off for $29.99. Look, I love the Mafia games. They are right up my alley. Gritty, narrative-driven single-player games. I really enjoyed Mafia Definitive Edition. Mafia 2, like, yes, the Definitive Edition, quote-unquote, isn't the greatest thing in the world, but Mafia 2 itself is still a really solid game. I have talked about how I was disappointed by Mafia 3. It's still a solid game, don't get me wrong. Just had some really glaring gameplay issues, but narratively, I still thought that was a pretty strong game. These games have great voice acting, solid soundtracks, and the presentation to the games, I just think, is incredibly strong. If you're looking for a crime story, Mafia is a pretty solid one to get into. $29.99 for the trilogy, I think, is a good buy. Next up, we have Ghostwire Tokyo, 50% off for $29.99. We did a full review of this game. It's like 18 minutes long. If you want my full thoughts on the game, go check that out. Overall, there's a lot of things I like about Ghostwire Tokyo. I think the gameplay is interesting with all the different elemental abilities and whatnot. The story is incredibly captivating at first. Unfortunately, it ends abruptly, and I feel like it wasn't as satisfying as it could have been. Overall, it is a game that has a good bit of content. Honestly, I was surprised at how much content the game has. Some of it is a little bit redundant, of course, but overall, the setting is great. The soundtrack and the sound design, I should say in particular, really, really well done in the game. The voice acting is really good. You have English voice acting and Japanese voice acting. I would highly recommend to play with the Japanese voice acting in this one. $29.99 for the game, I think, is the perfect price for it, in all honesty. The full 60 bucks may have been a bit much for some people, but at this price point, I would say give it a look. All right, next up, we have Disco Elysium, the final cut. It is $22 for Plus subscribers, $24 for non-Plus subscribers. A game that I often rave about. However, you gotta know what you're getting into with Disco Elysium because it's definitely not a game for everyone. It's a little bit late on the, you know, action-heavy gameplay elements, so to speak. It's a lot of writing, a lot of decision-making, but if you're looking for a captivating, engrossing story to delve into, Disco Elysium is going to offer you that. It's got a great art style, great presentation, and the writing is exceptional in this game. And again, there's a lot of replayability in it and reason to go back and play it multiple times, so from that standpoint, I think the game is solid. If you're looking for a story-driven, decision-driven as well, narrative adventure, I think Disco Elysium is going to be one you'll end up enjoying. All right, next up, No Man's Sky, PS4 and PS5 at $29.99. Of course, they just did announce No Man's Sky will be coming to VR2. It's already available on VR1. I imagine with VR2, it's also going to, you know, transfer over the PS5 upgrades and everything like that. So that'll be pretty nice. No Man's Sky is one of the best VR experiences, I personally believe. However, the game itself obviously is one that went through a plethora of updates. I actually just installed the game on my PS5 to revisit it not too long ago. It's definitely not a game for everyone, and you know, if you're not into these styles of open exploration games, gathering resources and whatnot, maybe it won't be for you, but I just think the game has been evolving so much that, you know, if it interested you back before it came out and then you heard the reception and you're like, nah, not for me, go back and give it a look. $29.99 I think is a great price point for it, and also, it's a game that, you know, you're investing into what it's becoming as well. It's already a good game now, but Hello Games has just shown they're going to continually roll out updates for the game, and they haven't been charging for them, so that's been pretty cool. You got the VR2 component coming as well, and I think 30 bucks is a great price. This is the discounted price it usually goes for. I don't see it going any lower than $30 just because, you know, they know at this point that it is a pretty good game. I think it's fair to say, and they're going to continually roll out updates, so I feel like that price point is warranted. All right, next up, we got Weird West. 25% off for $29.99. Another game we did a full review on. 25% off, not a significant discount. However, it is a game that came out back at the end of March, so it's still a pretty recent release. Really enjoyed Weird West. Another incredibly decision-driven game. Like, that's probably the element of Weird West that I enjoyed the most, is that your decisions actually have lasting impact on the game, and, you know, some wild stuff can go down depending on what you did in the game, and the game is really an open sandbox for you to do whatever you want. I shouldn't say a sandbox in the sense of it's this giant open world for you to explore. You have all these different levels you can go to and do different things, side quests, bounties, the main story. There's a lot to do in the game, and it's very enjoyable. Art style is good, writing is solid, and the narrator also does a really good job in the game. I would put him up there with like the Bastion narrator. That's always like, Bastion in my opinion has like one of the best narrators of all time. Weird West, right up there. I thought he did a great job as well. 30 bucks for the game is pricey, but it's a game with a lot of content, a lot of replayability as well. And Wolfeye, the studio that developed it, they're rolling out updates for Weird West as well, so that's good to see. All right, next up, Tomb Raider Definitive Survivor Trilogy. Of course, this includes Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I've been vocal, Rise of the Tomb Raider is my favorite in the series. Honestly, one of my favorite games of all time. I thought that was an exceptionally well done game. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a good game. Narratively, it kind of falls off. Tomb Raider 2013 is also still very good. It holds up rather nicely. Tomb Raider 2013, definitely on the shorter side. You can complete that pretty quickly. All the games you can complete rather quickly if you just rush right through it, but you got a decent bit of content in Rise and Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well, especially with the additional content for SOTR being included. All three games for $19.99 is fairly solid, and of course we do know a new Tomb Raider game is in development on the new Unreal, so that'll be cool to see. Hopefully they do a good job with that, and I'm kind of confident that they will, given the quality of these three titles. $19.99, good buy here. Alright, next up, Neo, The World Ends With You, 50% off for $29.99. Man, it seems like this game didn't do all too well from a commercial standpoint, which is so depressing because we had to wait, what, 13 years after the release of The World Ends With You back in March of 2008 to get Neo The World Ends With You, and it comes out. The people that played it seemed to really enjoy it, but it just didn't have that fanfare I think people, especially fans of World Ends With You, hoped it would have, but it is a very good game. Gameplay is good. I thought the story was engrossing, and obviously from a soundtrack standpoint, man, Square Enix JRPGs usually have great soundtracks. Neo The World Ends With You is a fantastic soundtrack with a lot of interesting music, but a lot of great music as well. It's just a great game, and I would highly recommend you to check it out. I know maybe some of you guys are like, I want to play the first World Ends With You. Go play it. It's on the Nintendo Switch. You can watch the anime. I wouldn't really recommend that. But at the very least, give Neo The World Ends With You a shot. I think a lot of you guys are going to end up enjoying it if you do give it a playthrough. I know the price point's kind of high. It's been out for almost a year at this point and still 30 bucks. But it's one of those JRPGs that has been holding up in price, and sometimes you do see that. So I would still recommend it. I think it's a good price. Next up, we have Raccoon City Edition, which includes the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Remake. This is $24, so you essentially get both for 12 bucks a pop. Resident Evil 2, when it goes on sale, the cheapest it goes, I believe, is 16, and Resident Evil 3, I believe, is right around there. It'll go to, like, 16, 20 bucks. So both for 24 is actually a pretty solid buy. Obviously, the Resident Evil 2 Remake is top-notch. Resident Evil 3, the main complaint is the cut content, which is a bummer. It's definitely not at the level of the Resident Evil 2 Remake. Hopefully, they do Resident Evil 4 justice with the Resident Evil 4 Remake, but still a good pair of games. Resident Evil 2, again, I think is phenomenal. Resident Evil 3, I still had an enjoyable experience going through it, and I don't have that nostalgic attachment towards the older Resident Evil games. So it's not like the cut content like affected me greatly, as I'm sure like a lot of other people were really upset by RE3, but I enjoyed both games quite a bit. Again, RE2 definitely the one I enjoyed more, but 24 bucks I think for both is a solid pickup. Let's bang through some Final Fantasy games real quick. Final Fantasy 12 The Zodiac Age. Now this is on PlayStation Now already, so bear that in mind. 50% off for $25. Loved FF12 going back to when it initially came out in October of 2006, and it seems like that this is one of the Final Fantasy games that over time, like, time has done this game like justice, and now people look back at FF12 as like this great Final Fantasy game, and I think that's well deserved. Yes, I get it, Vaughn is a main character, like, people don't love him, but the other characters, Balthier, Ash, etc., they are pretty solid characters, and overall, I really enjoyed the game. Battle system is reminiscent of, like, gameplay you'd see in an MMO or something like that, but yeah, a lot of content in the game as well. Zodiac Age refines it a little bit. Just a great game, ton of content, but again, available on PS Now already, and that'll be carried over into Plus Premium. Final Fantasy XIV Online Complete Edition, 30% off for $42. This includes all the content: A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and of course, Endwalker. Top of that, you got a 30-day free play period. Now, if you're getting into FF14, there is a free trial available already, so you could just jump into that, see how you like it, but the Complete Edition includes so much content that, yeah, 42 bucks I think is a good buy. Obviously, it's a pay-to-play MMO. You guys know how that works, but FF14 is generally received these days as the best MMO on the market. So yeah, 42 bucks. Pricey, but a ton of content for your dollar. And then lastly, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. That is 43% off for $39.89, excuse me. FF7, as well as the DLC that's been released. It's on PlayStation 5. If you got FF7 through PlayStation Plus, it is upgradable on PlayStation 5 now, so you can play it that way. Otherwise, I thought FF7 Remake was tremendous, man. I like that they're, shaking things up a little bit. Definitely something that I was a bit surprised by, but I enjoyed that. Definitely something I'm interested to see where it goes. Kind of got a feeling it's going to end up being a train wreck, but we'll see. Visually, it looks great, plays great on the PS5, and narratively, I thought it was rather compelling. So $39.89 is definitely pricey, but it's a great game, and you got the expansion there as well. Resident Evil Village, 50% off for $29.99, has kind of settled into this price point when it goes on sale. One of my favorite games of 2021. I thought it did a fantastic job of really engrossing you into the world and the atmosphere. I thought the atmosphere in this game was just fantastic. Visually looked great. Performance-wise, pretty good as well. 30 bucks, not a bad pickup at all for Resident Evil Village. I imagine a lot of you guys have checked it out at this point. But if you haven't, maybe you were thinking, it's a bit on the shorter side, not worth the full $60. At this point, $30, I think, is a fairly good price for it. And then lastly, I do want to give a shout to Red Dead Redemption 2. This is going to be on Plus Premium as well, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of those games that I feel like everybody should play. The fact it doesn't have a PS5 upgrade is really the thing that pushes me away from recommending it a lot more, because I've played it on a high-end PC, plays great on higher-end PCs, and I would love to see it done justice on the PS5, and I'm sure it will be at some point, and I'm sure we'll have to pay for it, but $24 for Red Dead Redemption 2 if you're on the PS4 still, or you just want to play the game, I mean, it's absolutely worth the money. A lot of content in the game, incredible narrative, and you guys know the deal. It's a fantastic game. 24 bucks for it, I think, is a very good pickup, and it's not getting really much cheaper than this, although it will be in Plus Premium. I imagine that this is going to be one of those games that's going to be in Plus Premium, but it's going to cycle out pretty quickly. Like, maybe you'll have a 90 to 120 day window to play it, so bear that in mind. But that's going to do it for me. Again, that is the last video for Days of Play. It's wrapping up here shortly. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you picked up. Sorry for a little bit of a more long-winded video, but sound off down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.